A forgotten soldier, lost to time and history, is finally honored for his bravery. But as the ceremony unfolds, a shocking truth about his past emerges, leaving everyone speechless. What they discover changes everything they thought they knew about this war hero. The secrets he carried for decades are revealed, leaving the crowd in utter disbelief. The day had finally come. Flags rippled in the wind, their bright colors contrasting against the somber gray skies. Soldiers in full dress uniforms stood in a straight line, rifles gleaming under the midday sun. The crowd, hundreds deep, gathered in solemn anticipation. At the center of it all was the Grand Memorial, a towering tribute to a forgotten soldier. Private William Bill Harris was being honored today, finally, after years of being lost to history. His name, inscribed in gold letters on the stone, now symbolized bravery and sacrifice. The announcer, a high-ranking general, approached the podium. As we gather here today to honor Private William Harris for his unparalleled bravery and service to this country, we remember the sacrifices of those who fought beside him. Daniel Harris, Bill's estranged son, stood in the crowd, his mother Martha clutching his arm. The words should have meant something, but they felt hollow. Daniel had never known his father as a hero. In fact, he had barely known him at all. Growing up, Bill was just a distant figure, more ghost than man, haunted by the war that had broken him. But now, he was hailed as a legend, a hero. Martha wiped a tear from her eye as the medal was presented. Yet, deep down, Daniel couldn't shake the unease gnawing at him. Why had his father never spoken of his heroic deeds? Why had his mother remained silent for so long? Just then, a voice cut through the crowd. An old man, hunched and weathered, muttered from the back, "He doesn't deserve that honor." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. He turned, trying to catch a glimpse of the stranger. The ceremony continued, but that voice lingered in the air, filling Daniel with a growing sense of dread. Who was this man? And what did he mean by those words? The ceremony ended with a burst of applause, cameras flashing as the medal gleamed on the podium. But Daniel couldn't join in the celebration. The stranger's words echoed in his mind, unraveling any sense of pride he might have felt. As the crowd dispersed, his mother, Martha, reached for his hand, her grip tight, as though she knew something was wrong. "He would have been proud," Martha said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, yet there was something distant in her gaze, as though her mind was elsewhere. "Would he?" Daniel's voice was sharper than intended. Martha flinched but quickly composed herself, brushing a stray lock of grey hair from her face. "Of course he would," she insisted, though there was a hint of defensiveness in her tone. "Your father deserved this. He fought for it. For us." Daniel frowned. "But why didn't he ever talk about it? Why didn't you talk about it?" Martha's face paled slightly. She lowered her eyes, her hands fumbling with the edges of her purse. "It was too painful, Daniel. After the war, he wasn't the same man. You know that." "But there's something you're not telling me," Daniel pressed. He had always sensed that his father's silence was more than just trauma from the battlefield. There was a heaviness that hung over their family, a history shrouded in secrets. Why didn't we hear about this honor until now? Why was he a forgotten soldier in the first place? Martha sighed, her shoulders sagging as though the weight of her memories was too much to bear. "Some things are better left in the past, Daniel." But Daniel couldn't accept that. Not anymore. The ceremony had stirred something inside him, a need to understand the truth, not just about the man the world called a hero, but about the father he never really knew. Back at the family's modest home, Daniel sat alone in his father's old study. The room hadn't been touched in years, left almost like a shrine after Bill's death. Dust covered the wooden desk, and the faint scent of cigar smoke still lingered in the air. Shelves were lined with military memorabilia, medals, and faded photographs of Bill in uniform. Yet, for all the reminders of his service, something felt off. Why had his father never mentioned the battle that had supposedly made him a legend? Daniel's eyes fell on an old box tucked away in the corner. It was one he had never noticed before, half hidden beneath a stack of forgotten papers. Curious, he pulled it out and opened it, revealing a collection of letters, each one addressed to his mother. They were dated from the time Bill had been deployed overseas. One letter, in particular, caught his attention, the final one, written the day before Bill's last mission. As Daniel unfolded the brittle paper, his hands trembled. The ink was faded but legible, the words haunting. "Dear Martha, if you're reading this, then something has gone terribly wrong. I don't know if I'll make it out of this mission alive, but I need you to know the truth. I'm not the man everyone thinks I am. There are things I did, things I can't take back. I've tried to live with the guilt, but it eats away at me every day. The real hero never came home. And if they knew what I'd done, I don't deserve any of this. I hope you can forgive me. Bill Daniels' heart raced. The truth? What had his father done that was so terrible? And who was the real hero he spoke of? Before he could process the revelation, the doorbell rang, jolting him out of his thoughts. He tucked the letter into his pocket and went to answer the door. Standing on the porch was the old man from the ceremony, the one who had said Bill didn't deserve the honor. "Can I help you?" Daniel asked, trying to mask his surprise. The old man met his gaze with a hard, knowing look. "I reckon you're Bill Harris's son." "I am." "And you are?" "John Davis," the man said, extending a weathered hand. "I served with your father. We were in the same unit." Daniel hesitated before shaking his hand. "You said something at the ceremony today, something about my father not deserving his honor. What did you mean by that?" John's expression darkened. "I meant exactly what I said. There's a lot about your father's past that the military doesn't want you to know. He wasn't the hero they're making him out to be." Daniel's mind raced. First the letter, now this stranger showing up with more cryptic warnings. "What are you talking about?" John took a deep breath, glancing around as if making sure they weren't being overheard. "It's a long story, son. But you deserve to know the truth about your father. What really happened out there in that godforsaken war?" John's revelation sets the stage for uncovering the dark secrets of Bill's military past, raising more questions about the honor that was bestowed upon him. The reader is left wondering what truth John will reveal, and how it will change everything Daniel thought he knew about his father. Daniel invited John inside, his mind racing with questions. The old man sat stiffly on the couch, looking around the room as if revisiting a ghost from the past. He glanced at the military memorabilia that adorned the walls, his eyes lingering on the medals, and his expression hardened. "So," John began, his voice gravelly with age and weariness, "you want to know why your father doesn't deserve that medal?" Daniel nodded, feeling a knot form in his stomach. "Yes. What happened out there?" John leaned forward, his hands trembling slightly as he rubbed them together. "We were in the same unit during the war, stationed in one of the worst conflict zones. Your father was our commanding officer. He was a good soldier, no doubt about that. But something happened on our last mission, something that changed everything." Daniel listened intently, his pulse quickening. "There was this ambush," John continued, his voice lowering as if the memories were too painful to speak aloud. "Our unit was caught in a deadly crossfire. We were outnumbered, outgunned. Everyone was panicking. And that's when it happened." "What happened?" Daniel asked, barely able to contain his anticipation. "Your father." "He hesitated," John said, his eyes flashing with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "He froze up in the middle of the battle. He was supposed to give the order to retreat, but he couldn't. And because of that hesitation, a lot of good men died that day." Daniel's heart sank. He wanted to deny it, to defend his father, but the weight of John's words pressed down on him like a heavy stone. "But that's not the worst part," John continued, his voice thick with emotion. "The real hero of that day was a man named Samuel Green. He was a private, just like the rest of us, but he didn't hesitate. He charged forward, risking his life to save the rest of us. He should have been the one getting that medal, not your father. But because of the color of his skin, the military buried the truth." Daniel sat in stunned silence, the world around him spinning. Could it be true? Could his father's honor have been built on a lie? The revelation about Samuel Green sets the stage for a deeper exploration of racial injustice and the hidden truths of war. The reader is left grappling with the moral implications of Bill's actions and eager to learn more about the forgotten hero, Samuel Green. Word of the old man's claim began to spread quickly. It wasn't long before Sarah, a tenacious young investigative reporter with a reputation for digging deep into stories others feared to touch, caught wind of it. She had been covering the ceremony as part of her work for a major news outlet, but when she heard about John Davis's accusations, her instincts told her there was more to this story than the public knew. Sarah reached out to Daniel, eager to learn more about his father's past and the stranger who had accused him of cowardice. Daniel, still reeling from John's revelation, agreed to meet with her. Sitting across from Sarah at a small cafe, Daniel unfolded his father's final letter and handed it to her. "This is all I have. I don't know what to believe anymore." Sarah carefully read the letter, her brow furrowing with concern. If what John Davis said is true, then this could be one of the biggest military cover-ups in history. But we need more than just his word. We need evidence. "I don't know where to find that," Daniel admitted, feeling overwhelmed. Sarah's eyes gleamed with determination. "I do. I have contacts in the military archives. If there's any record of what happened during your father's last mission, I'll find it." Sarah's involvement brings a new layer of investigation to the story, setting up a tense pursuit of the hidden military records. The stakes are raised as the possibility of uncovering a major scandal looms larger. The narrative shifts back to Bill Harris's final mission, told from his perspective. Bill and his unit are deep in enemy territory, exhausted and on edge. Tensions run high as they navigate through treacherous terrain, knowing they could be ambushed at any moment. The ambush comes swiftly and brutally. Gunfire erupts from all sides, and chaos ensues. Bill, frozen with fear, struggles to give the order to retreat. In the midst of the chaos, Samuel Green, a quiet, unassuming soldier, takes charge, rallying the others and leading a counterattack that saves most of the unit. But Samuel's heroism comes at a cost. He is gravely wounded in the process, and despite his sacrifice, the military chooses to bury the truth. Bill is given the credit for saving the unit, and Samuel's name is erased from the official record. The flashback reveals the truth about Bill's actions during the war, deepening the moral conflict at the heart of the story. Readers are left questioning the consequences of prejudice and the erasure of true heroism. Returning to the present, Daniel grapples with the new knowledge of his father's flawed legacy. As he reads through more of Bill's letters and diary entries, he realizes that his father had been haunted by guilt for years. Bill had never been able to live with the lie that made him a hero in the eyes of the world. Martha, too, is forced to confront the truth she had long buried. She admits to Daniel that she had known about the military's decision to suppress Samuel Green's heroism, but had chosen to stay silent to protect their family's reputation. "I didn't want to believe it," Martha says, her voice breaking. "But your father, he couldn't live with it. That's why he withdrew from us, why he was never the same." The family's internal conflict adds an emotional layer to the story, as they struggle with the consequences of Bill's guilt and the choices they made to protect his legacy. The stage is set for the pursuit of justice for Samuel Green. Sarah's investigation into Samuel Green's erasure from military records becomes her singular focus. As a seasoned journalist, she knows that exposing institutional cover-ups is always a delicate task, but this story, she feels, is too important to let go. Her search leads her through layers of red tape, until she finally manages to locate an old report buried deep in military archives, one that details the fateful ambush in which Samuel had saved Bill's unit. The report is heavily redacted, but Sarah's journalistic instincts tell her she's onto something. With the help of a whistleblower, a retired military clerk who was on duty the day the report was filed, Sarah pieces together the truth. Samuel Green's heroism had been deliberately omitted from the record. The reason: Samuel, a black man, was considered less marketable as a war hero in a post-war era steeped in racial tension. Sarah is appalled but not surprised. She has seen cases like this before, but this one feels personal. She knows this story could be the key to redeeming Samuel's legacy and restoring justice. She contacts Daniel immediately, laying out her findings. The revelation of the military's deliberate cover-up heightens the emotional stakes. The moral question of who deserves to be honored, and why, becomes central to the story, leaving the reader eager to see justice served. Daniel is torn. On one hand, he now has irrefutable evidence that his father, Bill, was not the hero everyone believed him to be. On the other, exposing the truth means tarnishing his family's legacy and confronting the deeply uncomfortable reality that his father had allowed this lie to fester for decades. Martha, too, is reluctant. She knows how much it would hurt the family to have Bill's reputation undone, but she also recognizes the profound injustice done to Samuel Green. After a long, tearful conversation, the family decides to pursue the truth, no matter the cost. They feel it is their responsibility to right the wrongs of the past and ensure that Samuel Green is finally recognized for his heroism. "I won't let this lie define our family anymore," Daniel says, with quiet conviction. The truth needs to come out. The emotional weight of the family's decision provides a moment of catharsis for the reader. They know that exposing the truth will not be easy, but it's the only path forward. The tension continues to build as the story moves toward its climax. With Sarah's help, Daniel organizes a press conference to reveal the truth about his father and Samuel Green. The event attracts a significant amount of media attention, as Bill was a well-known figure in the veteran community. The family's choice to publicly admit the truth, rather than let the lie persist, is seen as both brave and controversial. As the cameras flash and reporters pepper them with questions, Daniel steps up to the podium. His hands shake, but his voice is steady. He reads from one of his father's final letters, in which Bill had admitted his guilt and expressed his desire to see Samuel's name restored. "In my heart, I knew that Samuel Green was the true hero of that day," Bill had written. "I've carried the weight of that lie for too long, and it's time the world knows the truth." The room is silent. For a moment, it seems as though time itself has stopped. Then, one reporter asks the question everyone is thinking: what happens now? Daniel looks at the camera, his face resolute. "Now, we honor the man who truly deserves it." The press conference is a pivotal moment in the story, combining emotional vulnerability with a public stand for justice. The reader is left wondering how the world will react to the family's courageous choice, keeping them engaged in the story's unfolding consequences. The press conference has a ripple effect. While many commend the family's bravery, others criticize their decision to tarnish Bill's reputation. Online forums are filled with heated debates, and news outlets run stories that dissect every detail of the revelation. Amid the chaos, Daniel receives a letter from the Pentagon. It's an invitation for a formal review of Samuel Green's service record, a necessary step in the process of posthumously awarding him the Medal of Honor. While this is a significant victory, it's clear that there are still forces within the military that are reluctant to revisit the past. Daniel, with Sarah's guidance, continues to fight for Samuel's recognition. They rally public support, gathering signatures, and bringing attention to similar cases of forgotten soldiers whose heroism had been erased due to race or social status. The fight for justice becomes a larger movement, as Daniel and Sarah advocate for broader military reform. This introduces a fresh layer of conflict and keeps the story dynamic, engaging the reader with new challenges. Months pass, and finally, the day arrives. In a somber ceremony at the White House, Samuel Green is posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. The president gives a moving speech about the importance of recognizing the contributions of all soldiers, regardless of their background. The nation watches as Samuel's name is officially added to the annals of military history. Daniel, standing with Martha and Sarah, feels a profound sense of relief. He knows that while this won't erase the years of injustice, it is a step in the right direction. As he watches the medal being placed in Samuel's family's hands, he can't help but feel that his father, wherever he is, would be proud. The awarding of the Medal of Honor provides a moment of emotional closure, but there's still one final twist awaiting the readers, one that will leave a lasting impression. After the ceremony, Daniel returns home to find an unexpected package waiting for him. It's an old, weathered envelope, addressed to him in his father's handwriting. Inside is a final letter from Bill, written just before his death. In the letter, Bill admits that he had planned to confess the truth about Samuel Green long before his death but had been too afraid of the consequences. He expresses his deep regret and asks for Daniel's forgiveness, hoping that his son will be able to do what he could not, honor Samuel's memory. "I couldn't live with the lie, Daniel. I'm sorry I let it go on for so long. But I know you've done the right thing. You've made me proud." With tears in his eyes, Daniel folds the letter and places it back in the envelope. He looks out the window, feeling the weight of his father's words settle over him like a heavy but welcome burden. For the first time, he feels at peace. The final letter ties up the emotional journey of the story, providing a moment of redemption for Bill and closure for Daniel. The reader is left with a powerful moral lesson about the importance of truth, honor, and facing one's past. As the story ends, encourage viewers to reflect on the themes of justice and redemption. A call to action could be included, urging viewers to subscribe for more stories that tackle important social issues, and to share the video to help others learn from Samuel Green's story.